Hello, we're going to take a look at adding and subtracting proper fractions. So take a look at adding first. The first example is 2/3 plus 2/4. What we want students to notice right away is that they can't add these two fractions because both of the denominators are not the same. So we want to make the denominators the same, and we do that using their multiples. So we list 3 and 4, and we do multiples until we have a multiple that they have in common. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 4 is 4, 8, 12, and I can stop there because they both have a 12 in common. So that tells me that I know my denominator has to change to 12. So I have 2/3, which does not have a denominator of 12. I need to change that to 12. And I also have 2/4, which again does not have a denominator of 12, so I need to change it to 12. So now I know 3 times 4 gives me 12. 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. And then 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6. So we had 2/3. We want to change it into 8/12. So that's my equivalent fraction. And then we had 2/4, but we wanted to change it into 6/12 because that's, again, another equivalent fraction for it. Now we can add these two fractions together because they have a common denominator. So my denominator stays the same as 12, and 8 plus 6 is 14. We should notice that 14/12 is an improper fraction. So we actually use division to change our improper fraction into a mixed number. So 12 goes into 14 one time. When I subtract 12, I am left with 2 as a remainder. So this becomes my big number up front, 1. My remainder becomes my numerator, which is 2. And the 12 up front is going to be my denominator, which is 12. And the last part is students should realize that the fractions always have to be in simplest form. 2/12 is not in simplest form. So they would do what we use are T-charts, and they list their factors of 2. 1 times 2 gives me 2, and that's the only combination to get 2. For 12, it's 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, and we stop there because we're just going to get the same combinations if we keep going. If we did 4 times 3, we already have that. So take a look at what do they have in common. They have a 1 in common, and they have a 2 in common. We want to use the biggest number. So the biggest number they have in common is a 2. So we need to divide the top by 2, and we need to divide the bottom by 2 as well. So I like to draw my triangle because it gives me 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then if I draw my triangle with 12 and 2 in it, 12 divided by 2 is going to give me 6. So my final answer isn't 1 and 2/12, it's actually 1 and 1/6 in simplest form. So it's a lot of work the students have to do this year for fractions, with finding common denominators, converting, and simplifying. But that's an example of addition. And then an example of subtraction with 8/10 minus 2/5, taking the same exact steps. We need to have a common denominator. I don't have that right now between 10 and 5. So what I need to do is write my multiples of 5 and 10. Now I like to start with a smaller number because sometimes the smaller number turns into the bigger number. And if that happens, we should know automatically that that's our common denominator. So we want our common denominator to be 10. So 8/10 already has a denominator of 10. So I'm just going to bring that down. I don't have to do any extra work. But 2/5 does not have a denominator of 10. So we need to change it and find an equivalent fraction. Now I know 5 times 2 gives me 10. 2 times 2 gives me 4. So I'm changing 2/5 into 4/10. Now that I have that, I can subtract these two fractions. They have a common denominator of 10. 8 minus 4 is 4. Right now we have an answer of 4/10, but again, it is a proper fraction. We still want the students to make sure it's in simplest form. So we always come over and do our t-charts with our factors to see if it can be simplified. 4 is 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. To get 10 is 1 times 10 and 2 times 5. The numbers that they have in common is 1 and 2. And again, 2 is the biggest number. So I'm going to divide the top by 2. I'm going to divide the bottom by 2. I use my triangle. I know that 4 divided by 2 is 2. On the other side, I know 10 divided by 2 is going to give me 5. So my final answer in simplest form is 2/5. So again, thank you for watching. If you do have any questions, feel free to email or leave comments. There is a lot of prior knowledge that's needed to solve these types of problems. So if we need help or an additional video with simplifying or converting fractions, let me know. I'll be happy to make those. Thank you again and have a great day.